live struggle legacy. It's a whole movement.
I got you, big baby. I keep the struggle live struggle, live music. Pay attention to how we do it. And so my dog who never made it out. Live struggle, I got you, homie. We break it out, live struggle, live music. Pay attention to how we do it. And so my dog who never made it out. Live struggle, I got you, homie. The things we do when we down on our luck, like a dolphin, anything to get fucked up. What you think? Now we out here trying to get locked up. Desperation brings desperate measures trying to come up.
Hey everybody, it's your boy MP, Live Struggle Legacy, and welcome to the Live Struggle Legacy Podcast, Season 3. Now, real quick, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment, start a conversation with the guest. If you're listening on a streaming platform, please make sure you hit that follow button, download, save, rate us, and if you're looking to promote your business, holla at me because we're looking for sponsors. Okay, with no further ado, I have another very special guest in the house all the way from Tennessee. We're doing a remote interview tonight, and none other than guitarist, vocalist, executive producer, and founding member of the grunge punk metal band known as The Quarantined, Mr. Sean Martin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me, man. It's so great to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, man, and I'm really interested to get your story out. I'm excited to learn more about you on the show. So what I always do, I always like to, because a lot of the guests I've met previously, this is our first time actually meeting. So I just want to kind of dive in as to what live struggle meant to you, how it resonated with you, how you found us, and how you felt like you'd be a great fit for the show.
So yeah, the live struggle story really resonates with me because it's a beautiful, bittersweet story, and that really, really holds a lot of weight because it's real, and sometimes there's just nothing better than just the real thing. And that's what makes it, a really beautiful thing. Because, when you truly do find the way to carry on past the hits is what truly, when you can show the world who you really are, when you get hit and keep going.
Yes, sir.
And so like that's what really resonated with me the most. And how we met through a thing called Pod Pitch, and it's a really interesting service that that for me it's really, really difficult for me to go and do a bunch of research. I'm very much a single-minded creative kind of guy. I want to see a project through as much as I can. I can stop and take breaks and stuff. And I'm starting to learn how to multitask. I've got 10,000 different things open up on my Chrome. But the truth of it is that I've got to get a good working order. And a lot of times, it's good to use those AI tools to help you reach out and find the right people for you, because really that's what's really working, and it's been working great.
Yeah, man, that's excellent, man. And I so appreciate the transparency of you keeping it real as to how you found us, and it means a lot to me that that's success in my mind, right? The fact that what I'm putting out is being discovered by like-minded individuals. I'm out of St. Petersburg, Florida, Tampa Bay, for those who aren't familiar, and it means a lot to me that well, I'm getting exposure, that the platform is getting exposure in other regions, other areas. I mean, just last week I actually did an interview with a woman all the way from Australia, and I'll be honest, in the beginning I was thinking, like, how did this resonate with you, and like, is this really going to make sense? But man, we had a really incredible conversation. And I mean, it just goes to show you, I mean, these laws of attraction, right? These synchronicities, when you put out certain energy, certain frequencies, I mean, it comes back to you. So I really appreciate you doing your due diligence, for everything that you're doing, everything that you're branding. And I really I look forward to getting your story out with an audience that I know is gonna relate and gonna be able to resonate with you, brother.
Right on. Thank you, man. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dive right in, man. So who is Sean Martin? What's your live struggle? Tell us your story, man.
So the basics of it are, I grew up in Northern California, and I started playing guitar when I was 12. Very much a difficult youth. There was a lot of things that I did really well, but there was a lot of things that I sort of rebelled against, and a lot of which ended up with internal issues in the family, namely for religion. My parents wanted me to be very religious, and I didn't want to be religious. I started to grow out of it. So there was already this fracturing. I had to question the things that I was told were absolute truths from a very young age. And I had to start looking for what the reality was versus what I was told. Because not always are these people giving me the exact truth. So that was the theme and a core thread, I think, through the entire story. Because after my 18th birthday, I decided to join the military and join the Airborne Infantry. And this was in 2006. Well, we went to Iraq in 2006. I joined the military in December 28th, 2004. So right over I was in 30th AG, the point with the reception where they send you into basic training over New Year's. And if you want to know how, if that's a good or a bad time to join the military, I'll tell you it's a horrible time to join the military because everybody's on leave. There's nobody there. Nobody gives a shit. They're like, wait until everybody comes back until like the 3rd or the 4th. So you're sitting there just waiting, right? But anyway, I signed up in an 18X contract, which was a special forces contract. And all that really was guaranteeing you a shot at special forces training. And they gave me the option to go to a unit prior to special forces training, and that unit would deploy to Iraq. So they said, you'll get one deployment under your belt, and then you can go to the SF training and become a special forces soldier. And I'm like, that sounds like it's setting me up for success. Yes, I'll do that. So I went to the 3rd of the 519th in Fort Richardson, Alaska, and we deployed to Iraq in October of 2006. We were there, and I was there until September of 2007. And it was I learned one of the most important things is I learned how to kill. You learn how to go 100%. In everything that they teach you in martial arts or karate and everything, they tell you go 90% is the most. You're not allowed to go full bore. You're not really gonna seriously try to put your fist through their face. You're not gonna try to rip out their throat. You're not gonna try to seriously break their arm. You're going to stop when they tap, right? But in combat, you have to train to go 100%. And you have to be willing to do it in the moment. And you have to be ready for it. Because if you're not, you wait those couple of seconds. If that other guy is ready to go, guess what? You lose and you die. So this is the context in which we're operating under, from a personal combat stance to a combat stance of they're standing anywhere from 5 feet to 500 yards away from you, and you have to do combat with them. That's every situation relatively that we're talking about here. It's it's the shit. We were out, in the community building our patrol bases, sleeping out, relatively unprotected for a while because we're building the patrol base, and we have to be okay with that. That's the kind of mentality that we're talking about here. And this has to be constant 24/7. So, so generally speaking, as you can tell, it was traumatic. It landed me with PTSD when I was done with it. But when I was done, because of the circumstances in the military, it allowed me to leave with 50% disability and the GI Bill. So I applied the GI Bill to go to music school and take everything that I had learned and from the military and from life, and try to turn it into something and force it into at least the energy to create something good. I didn't expect that I was going to go and create art about it. I knew that music was going to be something that I put myself into, that nobody's going to die, it's not going to be consequential. So I figured it's a good non-consequential thing for me to be a part of that makes me feel alive and helps other people. If I just do finance, that's not going to really do shit. So I dedicated myself to music, and so I went there for 3 years. Graduated from Musicians Institute. Then right after that, I had a temporary psychotic breakdown. Went into the VA inpatient clinic. Got placed in a inpatient. Was in the VA psych ward, and from the VA psych ward, I got placed in an inpatient clinic in Los Angeles. And from there, I learned a lot of the principles and understandings to help me deal with PTSD that I wasn't understanding or dealing with before. And so then I was really able to write, operate, and live my life, not be totally overwhelmed by the regular aspects of life because I'm seeing them differently than how they really are. I'm able to deal with the stresses of a nervous system going off in random directions at random different times, and I'm able to mitigate and control that after 20 years of understanding and diagnosis. And most recently, there's a lot more, but I'm trying to jump through the most important points. And recently, I've made an album in Nashville called Aversion to Normalcy at Blackbird Studios. And Sound Emporium Studios. They're some of the best recording studios in the world.
I've heard of both of those. I have a little bit of a sound engineering background and an education, and I remember watching a video on Blackbird Studio. That place is amazing.
Yeah, right. Yes, absolutely. It was a trip. So we did all that, and this album. Now that we've started our promotion for it back in June of last year. And the album released in November of 2025. And we're still going to be promoting it all the way until another 2 years or so. That's the new standard for promotional models. It's not just wait till it comes out and album's out. No, it's a whole thing. So if I'm going to dedicate that much time to it, I might as well make the song something that really is me, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's what I did with Aversion to Normalcy.
Excellent. So I want to get into all that, but I want to kind of fill in some blanks right here because I did read your bio, and you talked about coming up in the church, and you didn't mention that in the bio, but you did mention your early experience with music, being just 4 years old in the choir, correct?
Yes. Yeah, children's choir. Yes.
So tell us about that. So that was your original introduction to music through the church, right?
No, so the children's choir was a non-denominational thing.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
The religiosity didn't really start until later, when I was about 9 or so. That's when my family started to get like we're really religious now, and before I would read the picture Bible or I mean by the time I was 14, I had already read the Bible 4 or 5 times, cover to cover, straight through. And I had already read the picture Bible all the time. I knew the stories back and forth. I was ready to become a preacher. And but all of that was separate from the children's choir that I was doing when I was 4 to 6 or 7 years old. And it was very the choir producer there was very much wanting to include pop music into a children's choir thing so that the adults listening to it could have some fun.
Yeah.
So, so my choir teacher picked Jeremy, like that Joy to the World by Three Dog Night.
Okay.
Where he starts off, Jeremiah was a bullfrog, right? So we started with that and doing the Joy to the World thing and made it like we're a gospel choir.
That's amazing.
And so it's
That's
a bunch
great
of kids
idea.
doing right, So and we're all wearing matching T-shirts, and they all got a world with a big Band-Aid over the it's very children like esque, but it's also them having a good positive message, and it's good and fun music.
Yeah.
And so that was the basis of this children's choir, and it was the best thing ever. Like they had us do Richard Marx one year. Everything I do it for you. And so I had the part at the end where he's like, oh, really, really soulful about it. Everything I do, it's all very, very heartfelt and everything.
How
It had
old
me
were you
doing that
again?
as like 4.
That's
That was like the first thing that I did. So the tiniest little kid.
Yeah, that's dope, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hilarious. It was like one of the best. I was looking out in the crowd and everybody's just like, oh my God. Oh. They couldn't, not a dry eye in the entire place. It was so funny. It was great. Yeah, it was such a great experience because I got to hang out with kids who were older than me. We got to all share this cool thing called music.
Yeah.
We all got a community reaction to it, and everybody was like, great job, kids. Like, this is amazing. Like, it was a real positive reinforcement. It was just an amazing thing. If there's a program like that around you and you have kids around those age, get them involved in it. What are you doing?
Yeah, they do something similar at my son's school, which I love. They sang like "Lean on Me." Something very similar, like that, taking these like really classic and soulful, just beautiful songs, and then having all these kids sing them. I mean, it's great. They did a Harry Belafonte song that I thought was super tough for the kids, but it was really cool, and it's amazing how these young kids can memorize these lyrics, and it was awesome, man. So that's really cool, man. What a great start.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was really awesome. And later on, I picked up guitar when I was 12, and then I was learning from my from the local guitar teacher, who was a very much like a Black Sabbath, Eric Clapton inspired blues player. Very very much that influence. And before that, honestly, I've left these out, but I shouldn't have. When I was 7, I was in an opera.
Wow.
So I got a real, like, how to project your voice in a 5,000 seat theater, and then how to project your voice in a 5,000 seat tent is very different. So then you need to be able to take your voice up another notch to not just project, but also support and everything, even on the quiet parts.
Yeah.
And to project a whisper in a 5,000 seat tent is really difficult, but we learned how to do it when I was 7 years old.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, so I was getting these very, very technical experiences, and they were very much, one-off. It felt like I went and did this vacation thing where I was, doing this for a while, and, other stuff was going on, but the rest of my life was going on, Yeah. But these were the things that were the most important to me. These were the big musical pinnacles that for someone at my age and where I was, it was very, very lucky for me to be involved in these things.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. And thank you so much for sharing that. So things were happening in your adolescence, right? And I'm just curious, man, like, what compelled you to join the military?
So a few different reasons. The first was to get myself out of the town.
That's what I was thinking. I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Northern California is beautiful, but Fort Bragg has a limited availability of industries that you can be involved in and actually live a good life, like a comfortable life, or have enough money to live. And nowadays, it's even harder, you know. And nowadays, even a lot of the established businesses, like the fisheries, the mills, they're all leaving. You know, a lot of times it's like, you know, I remember that a lot of the dads who used to work at the mill all got jobs at Safeway in the grocery stores because those were the most reliable jobs in the town. And it totally made sense. But that's the kind of, you know, the kind of thing that we were looking at. There's more innovation and stuff to be had, especially, you know, since the internet, the ubiquitousness of the internet is through, and you can do a lot of different things in that town now that you couldn't do in 2004.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but what I was looking at was, well, the military also offered me not just getting out of the town, but getting a new set of experiences and a group of people.
Yeah.
Introducing me to a new set of, because in a way, I knew that I wanted to do something creative. I knew I wanted to go to college. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do artistic stuff. Like at that point, I didn't have it decided in my mind that I was going to be a guitarist and a vocalist. I thought that those were talents that I had. You know, like even with everything that I had done, and I had recorded my own music, my own songs that I had written, and I still didn't think that I was like good enough to do that professionally. That wasn't like something I was thinking like maybe I'll go to college and like get involved in the theater program, and you know, whatever degree that I'll have, I'll, you know, just be one of those things that I did. And after the military, it was like life's too fucking short to go and do anything else. I'm going right into music, no guitar. I'm this specific. I want to know, you know, like I was very much dedicated after the military.
Yeah, man.
But also the main thing that, well, not one of the main things that drove me in was that into the special forces was because I wanted to know what it was like to have the power to kill. I wanted to know what it was like to have the ability and that knowledge, and I didn't want it just to use it all the time. I wanted to be a protector. I wanted to have the knowledge and the power to operate in those circumstances and not be afraid, not be fearful, because I'd already been in a bunch of fights when I was younger. I'd already seen that the world is not going to just deliver whatever it is you want. I knew that I had to have some teeth behind my ability, behind my knowledge. I need to know more so that I could protect those who I loved and myself from harm. And so that's why I wanted to go in there, because it had the best knowledge on how to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate your support.
So, it wasn't all bad, I take it. Like, definitely some traumatic experience. However, definitely some positives you took out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of good experiences for a while. I would say that the majority, I'd say, you know, a solid 80% of the people who I knew in the military, I don't talk to and I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you understand those differences now. But back then, you know, you could go through, you know, entire training regiments and spend 2 weeks with them entirely and be like, we had a great time. You know, it was a fantastic dude. And then later on, you'd be like, who is this guy? This guy's a fucking moron. What the fuck? You know, like, so it was very much you either thought everybody was for you or you understood the varying degrees of personality and who's putting it on and you know, who's really wanting to be your friend and who's being nice because they have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in a weird kind of relatable, yet unrelatable context, I mean, prison's kind of the same way. You know, my father did time in prison as well, and he would always tell me, like, one of the some of the advice that he would give to me when I was doing my time is he would tell me that the cream rises to the top. You know, so in other words, you can only put on that front for so long. People are going to know the difference. You're in close, you know, quarters with people, and I mean, I know the military is similar in that sense. And one way or another, I mean, I kind of signed up for from my bed. You know what I mean? Like I kind of enlisted in a way when you think about it, just through the consequences of my choices. But I'm sure I'm sure you had some weirdos, but I'm sure you had some pretty, like you said, you went there to also make connections, meet people. I'm sure you had some incredible camaraderie along the way.
Yeah, like it was, and sometimes it would come from very odd places where you wouldn't really expect. And I'll give you an example of this. So at the very end of the very near the end, at about June or July of 2007, all of this terrible shit had happened between the enemy, between me and my unit. I'd already been in fights with people who were in my unit because they were just seriously off the rails. I had real team experiences of us operating well over 300 missions together outside the wire. Like we knew each other inside and out. It was, and it was just starting to kind of fall apart in a way because there was this overhanging thing where a psychologist had said, Martin is no longer the same. He's different. Treat him differently. And so everyone started to treat me differently. And so I was very much on the outside of my platoon. And then General Odierno happened to stop by our patrol base and sat down and slept in our patrol base for like 2 or 3 days. A general. That never happens. Like anytime anybody would come by with like a higher rank, they'd be like, "Oh, nice, you guys got connexes, cool. Your outhouses you built them yourselves and it's still made with tins. Cool, guys. No, I'll see you later. Good job on doing it, but not for me. Thanks, guys. That's usually how it would go. Odierno showed up there and was like, "Dude, this is awesome. You guys did a great job. Yeah." Hell yeah, he even stirred the shit, man. He literally went in there and helped the dude stir the shit to burn it. Like a general. What? Yeah. What?
So yeah.
He's a real leader. And so I got to sit down for a solid like 2 or 3 hours and have a real conversation with General Odierno around a campfire smoking cigarettes. It was dope, man. It was one of the best experiences I ever had because I had we talked about everything. From what it was like in Saddam's palace to like the overall mission of the entire war to the perceptions of what was really going on versus what we tell the news, what we tell the Stars and Stripes versus what we tell CNN, Fox News, and the press secretary of the White House. Like we know that those differences. I could talk with them about all of that stuff. It was an amazing conversation, and you would never expect it to come from there, but he was real enough to where you didn't feel scared to ask those questions. And also you knew that he was going to give you an actual real answer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now, I got some questions, right? So forgive me. I want to take a look. I want to get into your music projects, but there's something. Okay. So you knew that corporate America wasn't for you, right? And this experience in the military, you knew that also wasn't going to be a career path. But it was in coming out of the military that you decided to live a life of creative expression. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to quote your bio real quick, and because I can really relate to what you said, but I would love for you to elaborate on this. You said that creative expression saved a life, not a career.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
So after I was in the inpatient clinic for a while, and I had started to understand how to deal with PTSD, and started to get an understanding of what my nervous system was doing so I could have a baseline of how I actually was versus what the PTSD was doing. Like I could start to separate them because I had the guides, the information, the language, the ability to feel and understand and quantify and qualify all of those emotions. I had a team helping me through all of this, veteran brothers around me, all dealing with the same thing. It was an extremely helpful situation. the musical and creative expression that came from that understanding is what drives it drives my life. So the career be damned. I'm going to be doing it regardless of if I have a career or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
The truth is that I learned how to use music as a language, and I can use that in many, many, many different contexts. It all depends on who I can reach out to and what opportunities are available. I can make it myself, but when I collaborate and work with other people, then it starts to become. Then I can work well with a team. Then we can start to make a real quilt, and patch everything together, so to speak, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can definitely relate to what you were saying in terms of creativity saving your life, man. I mean, we have very different life experiences, right? But I mean, I've been through my share of trauma, so to speak, and my lifeline always, always, always was music. And it wasn't until like learning to write songs, that was like a lifeline for me when I was living in a very uncomfortable space. You know what I mean? Just in life in
Mhm.
general. I don't my physical space, yes, but also just the things that were going on mentally, emotionally, and music was always that refuge for me. And when you said uh, that it saved a life, not a career. I mean, I once I became a father, everything became about providing,
Mhm.
but in the process of providing, picking a career, right? It was definitely soul sucking, man. And so then it was like the only moments that brought me happiness were those moments with my child. But every other moment in my life, um, you know, I was completely miserable. And then once in a while, yeah, I had 50% custody of my child when I would be
Mhm.
alone and I would have a day off. Then I get to put it into my craft and into my music. And then that would be so rewarding for me. That was like my sacred work. That was my lifeline right there, really and truly. But it's like, man, here I am, you know, giving my entire life to a corporation that doesn't give a flying fuck about me. And if I died tomorrow, they'd replace me within a week. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Yeah.
it's like I had to make some. I had some life changing experiences that made me realize just how short life is, and that if I don't start doing more of what I love, uh, you know, um, that I'm just basically wasting my life away. And then, as a father, as a leader, as a provider, if I don't teach my child that dreams come true, and that you don't, pursue those dreams, well, what am I really teaching them at all? You know what I'm saying, Sean?
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
So okay, so let's dive in, man. Now so you formed the Quarantined shortly after your military experience.
Yeah, I started in 2010. So it was I went to MI in 2009. So I was there for about a year, and then I started the quarantine. It started with the Independent Artist Program. Actually, it's a program where it's a 6-month program where they give you a crash course through music marketing, through songwriting, through audio engineering, through mixing and mastering, through how to record your own music and then get it distributed and release it. And it just takes you through that process. And at that time, it was very much, here's Photoshop, learn how to use Photoshop to make whatever flyer or poster you want. So that means you have to go out and take your pictures. You have to, do all of this work to get these one things that nowadays we could go into AI and make it in 2 seconds. It would take us no time at all. But for us, it would take us a week to book the photographer, to go and put it in Photoshop, learn how to use Photoshop. What the hell is even going on in Photoshop? I don't even know. And you have to go and deal with all that shit and then step into Pro Tools and use Pro Tools and then step into whatever distributor that you're using and know how to use that, and take it from very bare concept idea to fully fledged idea and ready to be marketed.
Yeah.
And so that was the basic beginning of the quarantine and what we did with our first record. And then from then I just tried to make that process as efficient as possible, tried to increase the output and the capability of the studio work and my studio, ability, and my knowledge and understanding of everything that would go on with audio engineering, and then learning and understanding and expanding upon, be constantly learning new techniques, new abilities in performance, but also in the business side of things. So that's something that's just how I orientate myself every day. I try to pick one of those general ideas or however I'm feeling and go and expand upon it. And I try to make it into a schedule as much as I can so that everything that I do in the short term ends up for long-term gain. But you have to know and understand those processes so that you set yourself up from the beginning. And that starts with personal discipline.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when you start from those very small levels and then you start to see the bigger way that it affects, and you start to see, oh man, I can change my life by ending up having and creating a product that, goes across the world. But it starts with, I'm going to get up today and, lay down these tracks and make another step forward. And if I can't do that, then I'm going to find something else to make a small step forward. And if all I can do is, my voice is out, my fingers are broke, I can't think, I can't see, well, I'm going to hum to myself then. You're going to find some way in everything that to help yourself forward. And that's really the spirit of the quarantined. It's my personal motivations for being being a musician is all about the eternal student.
So essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the quarantine, right? Are you like self-quarantining? You're quarantining yourself?
Yeah, in a relative way, like that. It is. It is referencing the process of otherization. It's referencing the process that we go through to say, that other person doesn't deserve what we have. It's that separation in society that has throughout history has created every war, every X-ray death in existence, from slavery to every genocide to every single thing that horrible that we've ever thought up. That's the idea that it comes from. And if we confront that aspect in ourselves, because it's a natural reaction to be afraid of the unknown, and when you change that mentality in your brain to start analyzing the unknown instead of immediately going to fear, you've now just undone thousands of years of programming, and now you can rebuild the world as you see fit. The quarantine is to relate to that process, to how to take the shackles off.
Yes, man. Yes. And to set that frequency, to cut through the static and set the frequency.
Yes.
Absolutely. I call that parting the sea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of different metaphors and analogies for it. And it's about it's about recognizing how the world is and moving forward with the knowledge instead of denying reality, lying to yourself, and being like, well, whatever. Have a plan. Make a plan. Understand. Learn. And when you do these things, then you can start to build the structures that will create your success.
Absolutely. So another thing I almost forgot to ask you. I just took to briefly glance at my notes, but you talked about the emotional cost of being authentic in public.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So it took me about 15 years for me to get a hold on what had really gone down in those 2 years and 11 months that I was in the military. Very short time, but very eventful.
Yeah.
It's very shit happened all the time and very consequential shit. So I had to spend the next 15 years trying to understand myself and everything that had happened and how it affected me, regardless of whether or not I understood it or not. And once I got through that, then I was able to talk about it in therapy.
Yeah.
Then once I was able to talk about it in therapy and talk about it with multiple therapists, then I was able to tell my family. And after I was able to tell my family, then I was able to tell my friends. And when I was able to tell my friends, then I was able to tell strangers. When I was able to tell strangers, then I was able to repeat these stories because they had fully solidified from doing the work to uncover everything, so that there isn't a part of the story that makes me lose my shit. Because there was a good long time where I couldn't talk about particular stories without getting real angry, because it still bugged me.
Yeah.
Still go through that process, but there's a process of exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy to deal with and mitigate the thoughts and the feelings that come up with, so that you stop lying to yourself and start finding out what the true reason why you're feeling what you're feeling is. And when you get to that, then you can deal with the problem. Then you can deal with it internally. Then you can face the problem. But you're still just swiping at ghosts until you get through that.
Yeah.
And truly, that process took me 15 years and now 20 years. I'm still going through that process, still learning. But the more and more that I've learned, I've started to realize that it's not just a one-dimensional thing. I can make this into a multifaceted tool that then reaches across many different barriers to talk about the realities of life that a lot of people don't have the language for. And if you can give them the language for it, then you give them the bridge they need to get to the next side.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me an example of that.
So, okay, so in Nemesis, Nemesis Friend of Mine, the song in Aversion to Normalcy, the key aspect of that song is that he's laying out all the first and second verse are him laying out the reasons why this steel man of a narcissist bully deserves to die. He's a horrible person. He's destroyed and wrecked everything he's ever touched. He's killed, he's maimed, he's a horrible person in every single sense of the way. What is your responsibility then? If you're standing in front of it and judging it, and are you going to continue the cycle of violence, or will you stop the cycle of violence by using forgiveness, not for him, but for yourself?
Okay.
He's still unforgiving. He's still unforgiven. He doesn't deserve your forgiveness. He deserves your pity. But you don't deserve to be drugged down based off of their inequities.
That's right.
So the song is leading you to the point of use forgiveness to get through that feeling of anger and that feeling of rage, even if it is entirely justified, even if you think you are 100% in the right, and I guarantee you're fucking not. But you will feel like that.
Yeah.
But until you get to the point of you understanding why, then you can get to the point of overcoming it.
Yes.
Because you faced it.
Okay.
And that's what that song is really about. And so it's giving that example and a lesson and a tool all in one.
Excellent. And this is on the album Aversion to Normalcy.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. And so I had a question about that. So aversion to normalcy, right? So what are we saying about normal, and like what is normal and why are we averting from it? I just want to kind of dive into the, the philosophy behind the title.
Yes. I have a little saying that goes along with the album, and that is, when tyranny becomes the norm, in order to survive, you'll need an aversion to normalcy.
Okay.
So the idea there is to understand that when you are in a situation where normal is psychotic, when normal doesn't make any damn sense, when normal is not just stupid, but destructive,
Yeah.
what is your responsibility?
Mm.
Do you join the stupidity? Do you join the circus? Or do you fight the circus by resisting what has become normal and become the eye of the storm? That's what it's really about. It's about being able to look at society and say, that's not for me. I've got a better sense of morals and values, and I'm going to tell you what they are, and I'm going to show you what they are. And not only that, I'm not even going to preach to you about it. I'm just going to show you how well they work. And you watch me go flying. Watch me fly.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
if it
sir.
don't work, then it don't work. Then I guess we can reform it together. If you give a shit, if you don't, get the fuck out of here. But
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to work on and make what I want to do, regardless of what what people think is the normal sense of things. You have to have a vision beyond the smokescreen that is society.
Did you ever see the short clip of the interview of John Lennon when he says that the world is run by maniacs and psychopaths? Have you
Yes.
seen that clip?
Yes,
Right?
yes,
And
I
and,
have.
and
One of my
basi-
favorite quotes.
yeah, and basically he's saying like, maybe I'm the psychopath, but it made me think about how, you said that you went into a psych ward and suddenly became super creative. Have you ever heard the story behind Pink Floyd? I
Yes.
don't know which album. I don't know I think it was The Wall, right? But the guy would check himself in to a psych ward in order to create music, and every time he got out, it would be like he couldn't make anything happen, and it kind of goes to show you like what is really crazy, because world domination, war, you know all these things that we're programmed, right? And I don't mean to mock it with quotations. This is very real. We are being programmed.
Mm-hmm.
All the things that we're being programmed as normal, it's psychotic,
Right.
and so it's like, and then people are finding themselves and finding peace and actually finding, their true authentic selves in psych wards and being deemed the psychopaths because they don't want to subscribe to this psychotic shit show of imperialism, world domination, and war,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. There definitely were people, and for a while I had the same kind of mentality. Like, this shit is so crazy. How the hell? Why would I even entertain the idea of even thinking that any random person I meet, deserves some kind of deference or like respect? Like, why can't I just walk around and be like, ha, to everyone because you fucking deserve it? Like those were the mentalities that I had, because I had already come to the conclusion that everyone was tricked. Everyone was being lied to, so nobody was being real. So then I just denied all reality instead of understanding the nuance that there's a lot of bullshit, but there is the real answer still there. And this is the thing that I like to remember. Science is one of those things that if you went and destroyed every single science textbook and every single paper, every single thing that anybody had ever written about science or about scientific methods or scientific ideas or anything like that, and you burned them all, and they destroyed, and thousands of years went by, eventually the processes are going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
They're going to come back in 2,000 years and they're going to write the same fucking thing, equals MC squared. Why? Because it's a law. Because it exists whether you acknowledge it or not. And that became a reality to me, to where shit started to have a concrete end to things. I could stop dealing with this amorphous thing that was always coming at me and always striking from the dark and never would face me, and could never just, I was fighting an enemy I could never see, because I was fighting, the proverbial war inside my mind. But it's the war to stop yourself from assuming that every single person you meet is out to get you. Some of them fucking are, man. Some of them are real pieces of shit and they want to see you fail. Some of them are. But it's important to recognize the helpers.
Yeah, absolutely. To know that not everybody's out to get you.
Right.
And then even sometimes to understand, like you said, that forgiveness, that's forgiveness of self, but, that understanding that, people are operating from a place of hurt and conditioning, right? And that's why they act the way that they act. And that doesn't mean give them a pass and don't set up boundaries and protect yourself, but it can help you navigate rather than absorbing all that fucking weird energy that people are projecting, and kind of setting your own frequency, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because the majority of the world wants to keep you angry. The angrier you are, the less good decisions you can make, the less stable you are. And when you're making decisions out of desperation, you're a good consumer.
You give up.
That's all you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's important to remember, you don't need to be a good consumer. You want to be stable. You want to be stable and so objective that bullshit, it becomes so obvious. That's the kind of consumer that you want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that comes with critical thought and developing the ability to look at a situation and be able to assess what the normalcy should be versus what the normalcy is. And this is how you can start to recognize when your society starts slipping into fascism. This is how you can recognize when a church starts to slip into a little bit too cultish-like, and that's a little bit odd. Maybe they shouldn't. Or when you start to realize that, this baseball, manager has a little bit too much of a mentality for himself, and he's, kind of being an asshole. Well, these are all the same problems. He's establishing a sense of normalcy, and now you have to decide how you're going to be. Are you going, and also keep in mind that you also have to retain your own dignity, your own honor, your own sense of loyalty to yourself. And all of these things and values and principles you have will be tested. But the stronger that you make yourself, the stronger that you learn from your mistakes, the more that you learn from your mistakes, the better off you're going to be in those situations every single time. So the thing that I want to get through to people is that invest and rely on yourself, but always be the eternal student to learn what is available and in front of you.
Yeah, forever learning. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it, brother. I love your philosophy. So you dive into all of this in that album, Aversion to Normalcy.
Yes.
These are the thoughts that you're expressing in those songs.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. These are the feelings and the thoughts, and where to go with it, the process, the journey to get to these conclusions. It's not just about arriving. Yeah. It's about getting to acceptance.
Yeah.
It's about getting there, because that's where we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe I'll make the record where it's like all like John Lennon, type, we've all arrived kind of thing. Like Imagine, maybe I'll make it a full album of Imagine type songs where it's all the best shit. Like maybe I'll do that. I might have to write that down. That might be like I just created the next thing that's going to send me to the stratosphere. But I
love it, brother.
I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to do it. And maybe that's the next album. Yeah.
Do it, man. Do it. Write it down. So tell us where we can find your music. I know you have a website. Tell us about all your platforms. Anybody that wants to connect or just check you out and see what the Quarantined and Aversion to Normalcy is all about.
Yeah. So you can go to thequarantine.com. I just revamped the website myself, and it looks pretty badass, if I can say so. You can go to find us on social medias. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, at The Quarantined. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services, The Quarantined. And we've got a lot of. Sorry, we've got some great new things coming up. We got a shit ton of content, awesome content coming out, from recording at Blackbird Studios and Sound Emporium, to working together with local videographers. We've got a tour coming up. We've got a mini documentary coming up. We've got lots of innovations that we're doing in making an artist-centric business model. So I'm going to start doing videos on that to start upping people's knowledge so they can get a base level of we're creating music in a band and making a social online presence that's not just here's a page and the, we want to try to raise up all the boats with us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely, man. So I always like to close every show with this question, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into yours, right? Because you mentioned legacy through honesty, not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sean, what does legacy mean to you?
So in this case, legacy is about the impression that, and the branding and the association that you have long after you're dead. What is the and a lot of times while we're alive, it's really hard to think of how other people are going to think about us without us. Like, it's really hard. That's another level of metacognition that is just usually a step too far, even for me. And I consider myself to be pretty good at metacognition, but because I've done it a lot. But there's still levels that it's really hard for me. So legacy is the impression that you leave. But for me, you want to have to have it be honest and true to yourself. And that means really, really looking at yourself while you're here to make sure and to learn all of the different ways in which you can create something worth remembering. For me, in the military, they would tell us about Sun Tzu, right? The Art of War.
Art of War, yeah.
It's a very classic book for people to read. It's very good at getting people to understand adversarial dealings. But the book never tells you to hate anybody. The book never tells you, regardless of whatever information you have on them, strike and attack and kill. There's understand your enemy first. Understand yourself more. Keep your enemies away in a place to where you can see and understand what they're doing so that you can see and react and have a plan. It's about tactics. So having a longer legacy that's based on honesty and based on realist then you have to describe. So I have to go and describe all of this stuff. And that is going to be my challenge, is to try and express and get out all of the different things that went down so that people can see and understand it. Because I've realized that there's no real point in holding back now. There's no reason to. And because of that, it's going to give people a view into what it's like to have every decision that you make, literally every decision you make, have lives in the balance. And if we start getting used to that and start understanding what that's like, then we'll truly get an idea of what it's like to be consumers in this kind of a country. What it really means when we consume as much gas as we do. What does it really mean when we have as much waste as we do? We start to then become self-aware. And when we're self-aware, we can start doing something about it.
So legacy is just that everyday discovery as you learn about yourself and this whole life experience. As long as we're learning, we're always going to be growing, and we'll be writing our legacy every single day through our life experience, right?
Yes, and
That's
the second part of it is objectivity.
Absolutely.
How do you have to have a check and balance to that. It's why we have a multi-cameral aspect of legislation. Why we have three branches of government, because they're supposed to be having power and overwatching the other one to make sure that it's doing what it's doing. So that means objectivity on yourself is necessary. It's a necessary tool to start to build up in yourself. So when we start to know, then we can start making slow steps. And then once we invest into ourselves, those steps become stronger and stronger. And then sooner or later, you're running all over the place. People are like, how the hell are you even doing that? It's because I can see it, because I know exactly where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Man, Sean, I appreciate you sharing your story, your energy, your music, and I wish you the very best in everything you're doing. Thank you again. So, check out. I do want to plug you with a guy. Big shout out to Jaguar. So I brought on a guy. He's a former veteran as well, and he does healing modalities through music, and he actually does things to kind of help people find their next mission, so to speak, in life after the military. And I think you all could potentially make something cool happen. So I just wanted to, shout out Jaguar and maybe possibly make that connection with the two of you. It's about 3 episodes ago. If you check it out, I could send you socials. But again, man, thanks so much for coming. It's Sean Martineau of the Quarantine, guitarist, vocalist, executive producer. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's Live Struggle Legacy. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, that notification button. If you have a question for Sean, please drop it in the comment section. Start a conversation. If you're looking at a streaming or watching it on a streaming platform, please make sure you hit that follow, download, save, rate us. If you're looking to promote your business, holler at me. We're looking for sponsors. And make sure you check out the Live Struggle Legacy.com. It's Sean Martin and your host MP. Live Struggle Legacy. We build a pyramids.
At Autism Acceptance All-Stars, it's more than awareness, it's action. When you sign up at the AAAS.org, you join a movement for acceptance, inclusion, and real impact. Don't miss our Memories Delivered program. We bring professional photographers right to the homes of autism families, capturing genuine moments in the comfort of their own space. Becoming an All-Star is free, but the difference you make is priceless. Visit the AAAS.org today. Be seen, be heard, be an all-star. If you'd like to promote your business on the show, please DM us for sponsorship opportunities. Thanks for tuning in. We out. Live Struggle Legacy. It's a whole movement.